Hi, Jamie. So nice to see you again.
Hi, nice to see you too. Thanks for having me on again.
Yay.
So
So
happy to.
today, we thought we'd bring you back on. I think that um, sometimes people struggle with trying to figure out like healthier options, and we thought you would be the perfect person to help us like figure out some maybe kitchen switches for different, like instead of white flour, what can we use, kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah. So there's easy solutions nowadays, especially now in the grocery store. There's so many options. So there's just easy, quick swaps that you can do that are going to be better for your health for sure. Um, so the first one I'm going to talk about is sugar. So sugar, white refined sugar depresses your immune system for 6 hours after eating, which is an issue. It also robs your body of minerals when it's being digested. And it's just overall not good for your blood sugar control. It gives you that spike and then you get a crash afterwards. So using sugar substitutes is a really powerful thing that you can do. And so one thing in my kitchen that I like to use is maple syrup, honey, and then I also have like coconut sugar here. If you can see the heart, it's almost exactly like brown sugar. And those sweeteners have a lower glycemic index, which means it's going to digest a bit slower than refined white sugar, but they also have more minerals. So they're really great substitutions. And for example, coconut palm sugar, because it's granulated, you can pretty much use it in any recipe where you would use sugar. It might change the color because this is brown. It might change the color slightly, but it works very similarly. So it's like a great option. And then there are like actual sugar-free options that aren't aspartame, which isn't necessarily very good for our health. And so there's stevia. I don't actually have stevia, so I can't show you what it looks like, but stevia is actually a plant that's naturally sweet but doesn't have calories. And so that's something that we can add if we want a little bit of sweetness to certain things. Sometimes I'll add it to smoothies if you just want like a little more sweetness, or it's not as easy to use in a recipe. So if you're making like cookies and you just want to swap out, I would use like a coconut sugar or maple syrup. But if you're just looking, one thing I do with stevia is make lemonade, because lemonade is just pretty much pure sugar, right? So if you squeeze fresh lemon juice, you're going to get that beautiful vitamin C and the antioxidants in lemons. And then you can sweeten it with stevia. So then you have it's a drink that's not going to spike your blood sugar.
And then I actually like using stevia in making like rhubarb. Like if I stew rhubarb, because I find like, again, like lemonade, when you stew rhubarb, that's like a ton of sugar. So yes. I try and use stevia for that as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So I actually stewed rhubarb this week, and I used, this is a monk fruit sweetener, like canto. And so monk fruit again is just a plant that's naturally sweet but doesn't have any calories, but there's no harmful like side effects. So you can get it actually in drop form or in like a granulated sugar.
Does it taste sweet like stevia, or is it?
Stevia has like somewhat of a licorice taste to it, right? Like it does. Yeah. Some people don't like it because of that. I do, but some people don't like it. This is more neutral sweet. So it's a really good option. Okay. Yeah. So there's lots of options to replace sugar, and like I actually never have it in my house, because like I'll just use things like maple syrup or honey or coconut sugar for like things like baking, and then those ones for drinks, or like the stewed rhubarb is a great one, because really like people add a lot of sugar to rhubarb to make it palatable, right?
Yeah.
So, a lot. Yeah. But this week when I made it, I used the Lakanto monk fruit sweetener, and we had it over top of pancakes, and it was so delicious. My kids loved it. They added a little bit of maple syrup on top of that, and it was like perfect. And we saved like, per serving probably like 4 teaspoons of sugar, right?
Yeah.
So that's one thing. The second one that I was going to talk about is our oils that we use in our kitchen. So fats can be very powerful for our health. They can be anti-inflammatory. They can support our brain health. All of our nerves are covered with a membrane sheath that's comprised of fat. We have trillions of cells that are covered with a membrane sheath that's made up of fat. And we want that to be made up of like the best quality fats. And things like those big jugs of like vegetable oil and even canola oil are very highly refined. And they're also an omega-6 fat. And margarine is another one where it's like a vegetable oil base. And so the omega-6 oils, basically, we have omega-3 and omega-6. Both of those are essential for health, essential fatty acids. We need to get them in our diet. And we want a ratio of 4:1 or less of omega-6 to omega-3. Does that make sense? So a little bit more omega-6 to omega-3, but the average North American diet is between 10:1 or 50:1, depending on how refined your diet.
Wow.
And even people with pretty healthful diets, like canola oil is in there a lot. And I mean, some people use like margarine type things, and there are healthier margarine options out there, but they still are full of the omega-6 fats. And so we really want to work on like shifting our fats, making sure that we're getting the omega-3. And then there's also really healthy monounsaturated fats that we can add to our kitchen. So my top oils for the kitchen are avocado oil, which has a really high smoke point. So it's a monounsaturated fat. It's great to cook with, even if you are cooking at higher temperatures. Coconut oil is coconut oil is a medium chain fatty acid that is really good for energy production. And it's good for your metabolism. So that's a really good one. Olive oil. And you really want to get a good olive oil. A good way to tell if you have a good olive oil is if you put it in the fridge, it should like congeal a little bit. And if it doesn't, that means it's more refined. So it should, because you want those monounsaturated fats. There's one from Costco that I love. It's an organic olive oil. It's the cheapest olive oil I've ever found that's like that good of quality. I think it's like $12 for two like big things.
Yeah.
I can't remember the name of it, but it's like there's only
Is it in a yellow bottle? Like a yellow label?
In a dark bottle and the label.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so good. And you can tell when you put it in the fridge, it starts to congeal. So you know it's pressed properly in a good way. So you're preserving those good fats.
Okay.
And then butter is way better than margarine any day because it's a natural fat and it tastes good, right? It tastes better than margarine. Yeah. And ghee.
I think we all do.
I know. My kids love it too, and I always think as they're having it, like they like to have like butter on top, like they're just fueling their brains with the healthy fats and butter. And ghee is just butter that's clarified, so you take the proteins out of it. Ghee is really good for people who are sensitive to dairy proteins, because it doesn't have any, it's just the fat. Even people who are allergic to dairy usually can handle ghee. And tallow, I don't know if you guys know what tallow is. It's from beef fat. It's a really good one to cook from. Preferably, you want to use animals that are like raised eating grass, and then there's going to be a healthy fatty acid profile in that too. Actually, I was going to get to meat. It was further down the list, but maybe I'll talk about it right now because we kind of went into it. So the other thing that we should try and swap as much as we can is our meat. So getting like the best quality meats you can afford. Because when an animal is grazing, let's say a cow, for example, the difference between a cow that's grazing on grass or a cow that's fed corn is the fatty acid profile in the meat, right? So you're going to get more omega-6 and saturated fats in an animal that's fed things like corn. And there also is just going to be more fat in general. Whereas when they're eating grass like they're supposed to, there's way more omega-6 or omega-3 in beef. People don't think about omega-3 for beef, but if the cow is raised as it's supposed to, there's quite a high amount of omega-3. And there's also CLA. So CLA is a type of fat that you can find it in supplement form, like for people take it for weight loss. It's a fat that actually helps your body like just metabolize better. So it's helpful for for just maintaining weight or weight loss. And it's also cancer protective. So it's a really huge difference when we're eating animals that are like raised the way that they're supposed to be raised, right? Chickens, same thing. Like if they're fed corn, have a very different nutrition profile than if they're eating like bugs and things like that, and like naturally in the environment the way that they're supposed to. So yeah, there's 47% more omega-3s in grass-fed beef than there is in conventional meats.
So where would you say the best place is to get meat then? Like if we're looking for that type of quality, where are we going?
Yeah, I mean, there definitely is more at your regular grocery store. Like you'll see more naturally raised meats, but I would say, like, I mean, if you're talking about close to us, Willow Tree has a great meat section where their animals are primarily almost 100% grass-fed. They do give them corn at the very end because it's supposed to help with like marbling, but it's GMO-free corn, and they're allowed to be in pasture. So it's definitely a much better quality meat. And then there's also, I'm trying to remember, there's also another farm. They sell it at the Bridge Social. Sage and Shepherd is also
Yes.
a really high quality one. There's lots of farms, or there's like the Bison place on Davis Drive. So just looking at local farmers markets, I would say. But there also is, like if you go to Longo's or Vince's, there are better options there. I would just say to get the best quality that you can afford, for sure. And then also when we're talking about dairy, we want to do that too. Dairy, like getting grass-fed dairy is a similar thing. Like it's going to change the nutrition profile in the dairy. And eggs, they've tested eggs that when they're raised in pasture have so much more nutrition, and it's not even just the fatty acids. If you crack an egg when the animals have been able to are free range and they're eating bugs, the color of the yolk is just dramatically different, right? And so the color of the yolk really tells you how much lutein is in there, and a variety of antioxidants that help support our brain health, our eyes. There's just so much choline is in eggs that is really important for brain and nervous system health. So there's just, yeah, it's just a completely different thing. Whereas when they're fed things like corn and grains, they have just more omega-6 again, and just not as much nutrition. You can actually see it in the yolk, which is pretty awesome if you see them side by side, right?
Yeah.
So getting eggs, I'm trying to think of that farm in town where they have amazing, the woman that has the farm.
James Family Farm?
Yes. Have you seen her eggs? They're like gorgeous.
We were getting them for a bit, and she was having problems with supply. Yeah. So
the other ones that I get that are pretty readily available is they're, oh man, I just went blank, but it's Conestoga. Conestoga eggs are flax-fed, free range eggs. So those ones you can definitely tell the difference between the colors.
Are they grocery store?
The grocery store. Vince's sells it, like in most grocery stores. Yeah, Conestoga. That's a really good one. And then also when we're talking about dairy is our yogurts. So switching out our yogurts that are like filled with sugar. The majority of yogurts have like 10 teaspoons of sugar per serving. It's really crazy. So getting plain yogurts and adding your own sweetness to it is a really helpful thing to do too. So in our house, we just get plain yogurt and then we drizzle honey over top of it for the kids. They really like that. You could also put like a little bit of natural jam in your yogurt to sweeten it, but just getting rid of those like really sugar-filled yogurts is a powerful thing too. Okay, where was I? And so now ditching refined white bread. So that's like a food that has essentially no nutrition. They've added some artificial nutrients, like man-made nutrition back to it because they've refined it so much. But switching that out for a sprouted grain bread is really awesome. So when you sprout a grain, you lower the glycemic index, so it's not going to spike your blood sugar to the same extent. It's going to give you a steady energy, and it's much easier to digest as well. And those are pretty readily available. They have it, like, I mean, them at Vince's and Zayre's, and like most grocery stores will have a sprouted grain bread, usually in the freezer section because there's no preservatives, so they don't last as long. But it's a much better option for sure. And you can also use things like lettuce wraps. I mean, my kids probably wouldn't go for that, but I like using a lettuce wrap for a sandwich instead of bread. And then, yeah, you're just, the refined white bread is just going to spike your blood sugar, and then you're going to get it's basically like eating sugar, really. Like, there's no nutrition in it. It's just going to spike your blood sugar, and then you're going to have that crash afterwards. The next thing is to swap juice out. So juice, you're basically just like taking the liquid out of fruit and concentrating the sugar, because you're taking the fiber out. When you eat an actual whole orange, for example, you're getting all the fiber, which is going to naturally, it's like nature's perfect package. It's slowing the digestion of that because of the fiber. But when you take all the fiber out and you just have the juice, first of all, if it's sitting on the shelf for a long time, it's going to not contain the same amount of nutrition. If you're making juice, like if you actually make your own fresh juice, you're going to still get a lot of antioxidants and vitamin C. But if it's been sitting, it's not going to contain very much. And then, yeah, you're not getting that fiber. So you just get that. It's, again, like having sugar. You're just going to get that blood sugar spike. So I would say swap it out for actual fruit or smoothies where you're adding like the whole fruit into it. So you're getting the fiber and the sweetness of the fruit, right?
Okay.
Yeah. Swap out couscous. So couscous is just kind of like white pasta for quinoa. So quinoa is a similar shape. A lot of people, there's a lot of recipes that call for couscous, right? But quinoa is a similar shape and can lend itself to any recipe that you would use couscous for. And quinoa has a complete amino acid profile, meaning it has all the essential amino acids, and it has a lot more nutrition and a lot of fiber and the protein, which gives you a more steady like stream of energy. Sorry. Yeah.
What's the best way to cook it?
So quinoa is nice because it cooks really fast.
Yeah.
So you just put, like, let's say you're doing one cup quinoa to 2 cups water. You could also use broth. Broth is a really nice way to like increase the nutrition even more, because you're going to get the minerals from the broth, but you just water broth. And then you bring it to a boil and then let it simmer for 15 minutes, and then it's cooked. Yeah. Okay. And then you kind of fluff it up with a fork, and then it's ready to go. So yeah, it's like, I love it because it's just so much quicker to cook than anything. Like I make it on, like, you know, when I'm trying to get dinner on the table really quickly, it's just a good side. Like if you're looking for like a starch for your dinner, like brown rice takes like an hour. Potatoes are gonna take a while in the kitchen or in the oven, or sweet potatoes. Quinoa, like 15 minutes and you're done. So it's a really good option to just have. And then the next one is switching out table salt for sea salt or Himalayan salt. And so this is like the simplest thing ever to do because you're still getting that salty taste. But table salt is just sodium. There's nothing else. It's refined and it's just sodium. Himalayan salt has 84 trace minerals, and sea salt has like a ton of other. It depends on where you get your sea salt from, what the other minerals are, and how much of a ratio is. But a good sign that your sea salt has a lot of other minerals is if it's gray. So the gray sea salts are going to have more things like magnesium, calcium, potassium, and all other trace minerals. And so yeah, that's just such a simple thing, right? Because you just use it as you would anything like in your dishes, right? And salt is real. Like, I mean, even sodium is an essential nutrient, right? We need sodium in order for our water balance in our body. needed for a lot of things and it's essential, but when you're isolating it in a table salt, it's actually going to make you retain water. I don't know if you ever notice, like if you let's say you go out or if you're eating like potato chips, like you just get like kind of puffy, and it's because sodium helps hold water outside the cell. So you're just going to feel kind of that puffiness and so thirsty too, right? Like because your cells aren't getting hydrated in the same way. Whereas magnesium helps pull water into the cells to make your cells hydrated. And that's what you want, really. When your cell, you think about, you have trillions of cells in your body, you want your cells to be like grapes, not raisins, right? And so part of that is through minerals, and the other part is just drinking water, right? We just need to drink. Rachel Hollis always says, drink the damn water. That's, you just gotta drink it, right? Actually, a fun thing that I've been doing, I always do this in the summer, I don't know why I never do it in the winter, is adding stuff to my water. So these are just wild blueberries, and it like changes the my kids love this because it's like purple water, and there's basil, and that's it. And it's like so good. Or I put mint in, any type of berry is good in there. Or like sometimes I'll do like lime and mint. It's just fun to like vary up your water, because we really need to be getting, the majority of people walking around are dehydrated like 100% of the time. So really, the more hydration, the better. Okay, so where am I? So the next one is swap out sugary cereals. We really got to ditch the cereals. Like there's so, even the ones that are healthier, there's just so much sugar in them. My kids love them. My kids love cereal. So I will get cereal sometimes for them, but it's just really not an ideal breakfast because it's just going to spike your blood sugar. And
no on the Fruit Loops.
So no on the Fruit Loops, yes. There are healthier options. So if someone's watching and that's what their kids are used to and that's what they like, there's a company called Love Grown Cereal where they use bean flours, and so there's more fiber in them. So when I get cereal, I usually get their plain O's, like it's almost like Cheerios, but they also have like a colorful, but it's actually colored with natural dyes. And then it has the bean flour, so it has a little more protein and fiber in it. So that's a really good option. It just, if you're trying to like wean off the really sugary, like food dyed cereal, it's like, it's real, especially for, I mean, for everybody, but I just think about kids, and you want to set them up for like a day where they can learn and like feel good. And when you're starting your day with Fruit Loops, you're getting the food dyes, which have been researched and proven to affect behavior. And then you're just getting this blood sugar spike followed by the crash. Right? It's just really not an ideal breakfast. So I would say that's one option, is just switching out your cereal. Or you can do like yogurt bowls, right? Like, and just add like maybe some healthy granola. I also sometimes like doing smoothie bowls where you add like toppings, and then you're just getting some sweetness from the fruits and things like that, but, or honey maybe on your yogurt bowl, but it's not, you're getting like nutrition, you know, from the yogurt. You're going to get like a good source of nutrition, and you can top it with nuts. I actually have this granola that I love that I get from Costco. It's called Inno Foods, and it's sweetened with just a little bit of maple syrup, and it's just nuts and seeds. So there's lots of like healthy fats in there, and there's coconut flakes in it. And it's like a really, it's crunchy, really nice option. And then you can actually just have that with milk as a cereal as well. But we kind of like it on smoothie bowls, or my kids put it on their yogurt parfaits. And you know what I think? Oh, the other one. So the next one, I talked about the oils, but I don't think I talked about salad dressing. So swapping out your salad dressing for actually just making it. There are some, very few on the market where they're using good oils, but if you could just make your own, it's so easy. Like there's just so, literally, if I'm in a pinch, I just put balsamic, olive oil. That's it. And some Himalayan salt or sea salt, and then you're good to go. But there's so many recipes online. You can, if I'm organized during the week, I will make like a big batch of it, like, and just have like a mason jar where you just add the ingredients, maybe some Dijon, apple cider vinegar, honey is nice, and then some olive oil. And then you just mix it up, and then it's there. And then whenever you're having a salad, you can easily just throw it on. And it's just the fatty acid profile, right? You're just getting better fats. So you're going to nourish your brain and your nervous system and your trillions of cells with good, healthy fats that's going to help them thrive. I think it's just one of the most important things that you can do for your health, because you're either going to create inflammation in your body or decrease it based on the fats that you're choosing. So yeah, that's like a simple thing. And it takes like maybe a little bit of getting used to. I've worked with like many clients on this before, of just getting them used to making, or in the, like I do this all the time with clients. It's just getting used to them making their own salad dressings. And once you get into the habit of it, it's so easy. It just is like nothing, right? You don't even think about it.
Yeah. We make our own salad dressings. The only thing, and when you were talking about the olive oil, because we use olive oil in ours, we have to remember to take it out like a little bit ahead, so that it kind of goes up to room temperature, because you're right, it's just a solid in the fridge. It's like, gotta warm up. So we're like holding the salad dressing like this to warm it.
Am I doing something wrong? Because I store my olive oil in my cupboard.
No, it's just when you're making your homemade salad dressing.
You're saying after it's been made together. Okay, okay.
Mixed with like Dijon and different things, it's good to keep in the fridge.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's like lumpy, clumpy stuff if we're not careful.
Yeah. I mean, if you take it out when you start to make your salad, then usually it's pretty good by the time.
Yeah, but we always forget. So sitting there taking turns. Yeah, we're crazy. But the nice thing about doing that is that you can mix up the flavors. So it's not like you have to store like a ton of salad dressings in your refrigerator, because you're usually just going to the ones that you're making for that particular salad. Because some salads you want a little bit sweeter, and some you want a little bit tangier or different. Like an oregano, like if you want to do like a Greek salad that requires something different than something with strawberries and almonds and spinach and that sort of thing.
It's so fun. Once you start to play with salad dressings, there's so many options. You can do like a creamier based one.
How would you do that? Because my kids love ranch.
Ranch dressing.
And I try to buy the better ranch, but they like a creamy dressing.
Yeah. You could do a creamy dressing with well, you could use like a natural based mayonnaise, which is another Costco find. It's way more affordable to get like an avocado mayonnaise from Costco than it is anywhere else. And then you just, the ranch flavors, you just want to add the ranch, right? I think it's what we would add, like dill, maybe some garlic to it. And some salt. You could use that, or you could also use like a yogurt for a ranch dip.
Okay.
Those would be my two. There are a lot. I mean, if you just search like homemade ranch dressing, it's not something that in my family that anybody really requests, but I like it. I actually should try one, because I haven't done that in a while.
Yeah. It's good for veggies, right? Like they eat a ton of like raw vegetables if it's dipped in ranch. And they always have, right?
Well, in that case, I mean, I would try a better like recipe. It might not go well. So I mean, in my family, if that were the case, then I would just get the ranch, like get the better quality ranch that you can pre-made. But there are a lot of recipes online where you can, I think like dill and chai, you could add that in there. Yeah. The green, I don't know if the green would throw them off. I don't know how they do that in ranch dressing that you buy, because it does have those flavors, right? But then you don't see the green.
Yeah, and it has buttermilk and all that sort of stuff.
Well, yeah. I mean, you could fully just use like butter, like make your own, but with like a buttermilk and
it'd probably be delicious.
Oh
yeah. Yeah. I have seen ones with the mayonnaise though, or like even you can get coconut kefir. That's a nice one. And I've made like tzatziki sauce with that, with just the different spices and then like citrus, which is like a good, like if you get there's certain ones that are more liquidy, but you can get like a thick coconut kefir, and then that makes like a good base for like a dip like that.
Okay.
and it's white, right? Like, which is
Yeah, it looks like it.
Like, yeah, little eyes. Yeah. Any other questions? I think I went through all the foods that I had. Was there any ones in particular that you ladies have thought in your house?
That we have in our house?
Or things that you have thought in your house, like how can I swap it out for healthier?
You know what? I've run the gamut of trying all the different grains, and I always come back to at what I think is the healthier grain option that is still white. And maybe you can tell me if it's not healthy. It's basmati rice. Like they will not eat brown rice. They really don't like quinoa. So is basmati rice okay, or is it unhealthy like white rice?
No, I would say, I mean, there's not a huge amount of nutrition in brown rice. There's a little more fiber in rice, and there's some B vitamins. It's not a huge difference. So what I would say is, if you're making rice, if you actually add some broth to the water, and like, and use things like Himalayan salt, then you're going to actually increase the nutrition of that white rice, and you're not just eating rice on its own, right? Like, it's going to be So I would say that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, I would definitely use it, but my kids seem to like brown rice, so I don't really, but I wouldn't worry about it if they didn't, and that's what I was making. But rice is definitely like, everybody in my family prefers it to any other grain option, so we make that often. But yeah, if you use broth, you'll just increase the nutrition, and then again, you're having it with a complete meal, so
that's right.
Right? Like, you're not just getting your blood sugar spiked from it.
Okay.
I tried, what is it, the brown rice pasta instead of just regular white. That didn't go over so well in my family.
You know, the one that I found goes well, like with most people, is the go-go quinoa one.
Oh.
Yeah, so you can get it at like Bulk Barn, you can sell it at Zayre's. Oh, and Vince's has Maria's pasta, which is really nice. Maria's pasta is made out of bean flours, but I don't know what she does and how she does it, but her pastas are really good. So that's a little pricier. Like, a bag of them is like, I think, close to $10. The go-go quinoa pasta, you can get the pasta noodles, or they have like little fusilli ones, and it tastes more similar to like just regular pasta than the brown rice one, for sure.
We used to use that all the time when my youngest was trying gluten-free, and it is a really delicious option. We really like that go-go quinoa. Yeah, it was the closest to regular pasta we found in gluten-free.
Yeah. The Maria's pasta too, I've made when I had my dad over, who is like a bit of a pickier eater, and he was like, wow, it tastes like egg noodles. Like, he was so surprised that it was made.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
that's good to know.
It's a good one for sure. It's just a little pricier.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's at Vince's.
At Vince's?
Okay.
Pardon?
Hard to get the Europeans off their pasta.
I know. I know. And I mean, I mean, it can be definitely a nice balanced meal. You can add, I find pasta a great option to like sneak in veggies to my kids, right? Because you can just make them really small, and you can add so many veggies, right? So it's, and a nice protein in there, whether, I mean, you could do beans, or you could do like a good quality meat, and then you have like just a nice balanced meal.
Yeah.
I really like doing zucchini noodles, and I have one daughter who likes it, but will mix both, and then that's the only people in my family that will have zucchini noodles.
So close.
I know. But I love that my one daughter will mix it. Like, even if I don't give it to her, she'll be like, hey, I want some of those. So it's kind of nice.
That's good. That's good.
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, I think we've got a lot of good information here. And it's made me hungry. I have to go out and shop and get some of this food.
Nice.
Or
Well,
chop up the veggies that I have in my fridge.
chopping up the veggies is such a great way to actually get them eaten. My one trick with my family is like before we start lunch, I'll cut up some veggies and put those out first with some hummus or something or guacamole, and they'll gobble them up. But if you put them out like with the meal, they're gonna eat everything else, right?
Yeah.
So if you have it cut up and ready, they're like it's more likely to get eaten.
Very true.
I have to say, I've got one of those Pampered Chef crinkle cutters. Oh, it's a hit with everybody. Kids and adults, they just want to eat more because it's fun to eat.
Oh, really?
Yes, yeah. I do it for my cucumbers. I do it for my carrots. You can do it probably for potatoes and all that sort of stuff, but we don't go that route as often. But yeah, for the veg, like the raw veg, yeah.
Huh, I'll have to try that.
Yeah. And it holds dip really well too, Juliet.
Good to know.
Well, thanks for having me on today.
Thanks for coming.
Enjoy the weekend.
Yay.
Yeah, you too.
Thank you.